we are now going to move on to the much expected and anticipated section, which is investing in Cameroon. This is called to the ACFs, which is to showcase all the opportunities, and it's the reason for the presence of many people in this room. They are all expecting to hear more about that. And to facilitate the session, I would like to ask here to join me on the stage, Mr. Frank Nangbo, under your applause. And don't miss out on anything at all. Another very inspirational conversation with the Prime Minister Joseph Ngute and the Prime Minister of Gabon. And this will be quite uplifting as well. It's to come right after this session. Thanks a lot. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rising here before you as the moderator for this session on investing in Cameroon with the expectation to meet one goal, to answer one question. Why should we invest in Cameroon? As I was preparing this panel, I put myself into the shoe of an investor, and I was thinking about the macroeconomic indicators. And as I look into that, I saw that Cameroon was having a very strategic position in the ECAS region. And from a social and economic position, Cameroon is having an ever-growing social and economic rates. And 50% of the population is under 20 years, showing that at the long run, it's a potential market that can support the annual growth rate of the PEP, which is evaluated at 6.5% over the period 2021-2030 by the World Bank. And the currency is controlled, and the inflation rate is estimated by the World Bank at 2.3%, which is a record when you are aware of the environment in the light of the Ukraine crisis. It's not enough to attract investor, because investors usually address all the aspects upon which they invest, and this has to do with the business sentiment and the economic stability of the country. So this panel comes as an additional key for investors to gain better insight in the investment opportunities that defines and make Cameroon specific. And they want to gain more ideas on the drivers that can allow for the transformation of the Cameroon economy. So we have two sets of speakers here. First, those from the government and the civil society that define the structuring project for Cameroon, and also who guarantee on a daily basis that the government decisions are in line with the expectations and operators in line with the investors and operators' expectations. And also we have the intervention of the Prime Minister John Gute and Lamin, who's Minister of Economy, and Mr. Stratford, technical advisor to the Minister of Economy, and Mrs. Mark Angeline, the DG of API, and Mark Dawamba, President of the Employers Association. And also we have 5 investors from the private sector who have developed their activities in Cameroon. They will witness to the success stories and also their linkages with the institutions. In this regard, we'll be hearing from first Mr. Karaki, who is the Deputy Director of the group Prometal. It's a company specializing in metallurgy. And we have Mr. Alexander, who's from the Atijari Wafa Group, and Mr. Bertrand Mbouk, who's DG of Dangote Silver Cameroon, and Sylvie Zoukam, who is the CEO of Clem Solution, a company that collects a number of trademarks, and Mr. Guy Mutonga, who is the CEO of Self Trades. So to start this session, a motion picture will be displayed showing all the economic assets of Cameroon, and to be followed by the intervention by the Prime Minister, and we wind up with the summary address. So
Bienvenue au pays des opportunités, le Cameroun. Le Cameroun, porte d'entrée de l'Afrique centrale, est un hub économique qui donne accès aux grands espaces des marchés de la Communauté économique des États de l'Afrique centrale, CEAC, de la Communauté économique et monétaire de l'Afrique centrale, CEMAC, de la Communauté économique des États de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, CEDEAO, par le Nigeria, et même de la Communauté de développement de l'Afrique australe, SADC, et de la Communauté de l'Afrique de l'Est, EAC, par le Tchad, le Congo et la République centrafricaine. Le pays possède une main-d'œuvre bilingue, une superficie de 475 650 km², une population de plus de 27 millions d'habitants. Il a la tête dans la chaleur du Sahel et les pieds dans l'océan Atlantique. Un pays de rêve, le Cameroun est un vaste parc géologique et biologique, une destination touristique par excellence. Il offre un calendrier social et un style de vie cosmopolite aux investisseurs étrangers, avec un large spectre d'écoles internationales, des super et hypermarchés, une cuisine continentale, une vie nocturne incomparable, de multiples installations sportives pour se maintenir en forme et un environnement sûr et sécurisé pour vivre confortablement. Le Cameroun, point de rencontre des cultures et des peuples, est connu pour sa diversité et la solidité de son économie, ainsi que pour le dynamisme de sa population. La stratégie nationale de développement et le plan de développement industriel du pays mettent l'accent sur l'import-substitution comme catalyseur de l'industrialisation pour atteindre l'objectif d'être un pays émergent d'ici 2035. La priorité est donc l'investissement. Des nouveaux chantiers géants tels que des ports maritimes, des routes et autoroutes, des ponts, des barrages sont en cours, avec un potentiel hydroélectrique de plus de 23 000 MW et des ressources d'énergie diversifiées, notamment la biomasse, le solaire, l'éolienne, la géothermie et les énergies fossiles, la construction des grandes infrastructures énergétiques et la volonté de fournir de l'énergie et de l'eau potable sont en marche. Le Cameroun, pays producteur de pétrole et bientôt de gaz, est également qualifié de miracle géologique en raison de son sous-sol qui recèle de nombreuses richesses minérales parmi lesquelles l'or, la bauxite, le manganèse, le nickel, le diamant, le rutile et le cobalt. Le Cameroun est une terre agricole, presque tout y pousse. La grande variété des produits agricoles fait du Cameroun le grenier à blé de l'Afrique centrale et au-delà. La transformation de ces récoltes de rente en produits compétitifs prêts à l'exportation est une priorité absolue du gouvernement. Avec 65% de la population âgée de 25 ans ou moins, le Cameroun peut se réjouir d'avoir l'un des taux d'alphabétisation les plus élevés d'Afrique. Il compte plus de 11 universités d'État et de nombreux établissements d'enseignement supérieur dans divers domaines des arts et de la science, y compris l'enseignement professionnel, ce qui lui permet de disposer d'un large éventail de main-d'œuvre professionnelle. Dans le domaine de la santé, le Cameroun dispose d'un personnel médical parfaitement formé dans divers domaines et de nombreux établissements de santé dotés d'une technologie de pointe. Aujourd'hui, le 8e continent de la planète est le monde numérique. Le Cameroun fait partie de cette évolution avec sa propre Silicon Mountain. La téléphonie mobile et les transactions numériques sont monnaie courante. La pénétration de l'Internet avec 20 000 km de câbles de fibre optique augmente chaque jour, assurant une numérisation progressive à l'économie. Des projets considérables ont été enregistrés dans le domaine de la gouvernance, du renforcement des institutions de l'État et de l'amélioration de l'environnement des affaires grâce à l'existence des organes tels que le Conseil de régulation de la compétitivité, le Cameroun Business Forum, le guichet unique pour la création d'entreprises, l'agence de promotion des investissements, ainsi que d'organes de contrôle chargés de garantir la transparence des affaires et l'éradication de la corruption, tels que la Commission nationale de lutte contre la corruption, le contrôle supérieur de l'État, la Chambre des comptes de la Cour suprême et l'Agence nationale d'investissement financier. Le Cameroun, terre d'opportunités qui vous offre des retours sur investissement significatifs dans une atmosphère propice aux affaires à long terme, accorde des incitations fiscales et douanières exceptionnelles et non préférentielles aux hommes d'affaires étrangers et locaux. Compte tenu de la position stratégique du pays, de ses 27 millions d'habitants, de sa main-d'œuvre travailleuse et bilingue, de son potentiel agricole inexploité, de ses ressources minérales inexploitées, de sa diversité culturelle et de sa résilience, votre choix ne pourrait être meilleur. Pour vous aider à atteindre cet objectif, l'Agence de promotion des investissements accueille, oriente, conseille, facilite et veille à ce que vos affaires au Cameroun se développent rapidement, efficacement et durablement. Bienvenue à bord.
Merci. Thank you. It is now time to call our panelists. The Prime Minister, please. Put hands together for his notes. Ladies and gentlemen, dear investors and partners to Cameroon, Mr. Moderator of the panel, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before starting, allow me to express on behalf of the head of state, Mr. Paul Biya, the chief of state, and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Cameroon, that asked me to represent him here, the gratefulness of the population of Cameroon to the highest authorities of Côte d'Ivoire for the warmful welcome that was given to me and my delegation. This is the 11th edition of the Africa CEO Forum. It is now one of the privileged platform of meeting among CEOs of the large business, international investors, and the head of government from Africa. Undoubtedly, it is an excellent framework for exchange, reflection, and meeting of the stakeholders from the private sector at the service of a modern, innovating Africa, and known as it is due all over the world. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for this session, special session dedicated to Cameroon, allow me to briefly present my country, even if the institutional movie will it did it better than me. Generally considered as a small Africa, it is located in Central Africa, and the population is most important for the SENAC area. We have a strategic position between Western Africa and Central Africa. We have different ethnic groups which have good relationship. We have large cities, among which we have political capital city, which is Yaoundé, and the economic capital, which is Douala. We have a diversified economy, and the head of state is still trying to develop for a better life for the population. In 2022, we witnessed an increase in the GDP compared to 2021. Despite all the measures at the international level, we experienced the slowdown of global economy and also the hardening of financial conditions because of the difficulties related to international capital markets. At the international level, we observe some disruption in the supply chain in commodity goods from end of 2021, exacerbated by the Russian and Ukraine war. In order to make all the different actors of the different sectors like agriculture and services and infrastructure, we have the intention to attract different direct investors. The government has started some reforms in order to propose a good, conducive framework for public-private partnership and also for validation at the parliament. Moreover, after a prior evaluation of the tax policy and the reform on the measures, inducing measures that was adopted in 2013 in order to make a competitive business environment emerge in order to facilitate the trade. This will be important in the implementation of a roadmap of the government. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make my intervention over three main pillars. First of all, we have the strategic orientation of the state in terms of economic policy, and then the objective of this session, which is invest in Cameroon, and also the opportunities that my country offers. Concerning the orientation, strategic orientation, for the state in terms of economic policy, it is important to mention that the government has adopted some under the instruction of the head of state, the National Development Strategy of 2030, setting the action over the period. And there are 4 main pillars. Number 1, structural transformation that will led by the industry and the service. Among others, we have the sectors of mineral industry, mining industry, agro-business, beverage, cereal industry, cocoa, coffee, maize, palm. The other industries, manufacturing, copper, wood. At the technical and operational level, the government intends to implement an impetus program for CND 2030 that will be implemented with a portfolio of 3 matured intervention given the technical and financial maturity. And this is distributed among the 9 priority branches of Cameroon. We have mine, meteorology, textile, digital, hydrocarbon, refinery, petrochemical, energy, technical development, chemistry, infrastructure of transport and construction, and professional activities. Number 2 pillar, the development of a human capital and the well-being of the population through a national policy of inclusive education, the development of competence through some training centers. Number 3, promotion of employment and economic insertion, which targets young entrepreneurship and women in the priority areas of agriculture, cattle breeding, information technology, information and communication, and research, and the promotion of peace and social dialogue. Number 4, the grounds are governance, decentralization, strategy management of the states. The estimated cost of this implementation of the National Development Plan is more than 80,000 billion CFA francs. The objective is to have a diversification of the funding modes by having the possibility to have some partnership with the private sector, public-private partnership, and the contribution of all the external investors amount to 60% of this amount, more than 600,000 billion. As part of this, Invest in Cameroon session, generally speaking, the aim is to promote Cameroon destination by promoting its economic resources and favoring connection between Cameroon and international investors in order to attract productive investors. The specific objectives of these sessions are the following: presenting to international investors the conducive environment for investment, favor of implementation of a multi-form partnership, and also the prospect of the agreement of innovating investment in PPP or financing modes with by promoting all the Cameroon with a great potential and also external partners, and promotes the different aspects which are promising, and putting in place an interactive platform between the businessmen in Cameroon, the Ministry of Cameroon in charge of international finance cooperation, and also promote focus on this aspect of for the attraction of foreign direct investments. Next point, let's say that there are so many natural resources in Cameroon, among which are considered as one of the best in Africa. We have a young manpower, which is abundant and qualified. We also have a geostrategic position, which is unique within the Gulf of Guinea. This gives the country the privilege of having access to a large market within CEMAC and ECOWAS, with opportunities more than 300 million potential customers. We also present a stable macroeconomic framework, which is diversified and resilient, characterized by an economic growth rate, which is at about 4% over 2010-2020. I know that it is not enough, but we can do better. This macroeconomic stability and the policy which gives a great choice to the development of the private sector to give better impetus to growth in order to achieve the strategic objectives of emergence by 2035. Foreign companies have access to some measures which are exceptional, with a law of the 8th of April 2013 displaying all the different measures for the businesses and also national companies without any discrimination. Moreover, foreign entrepreneurs and companies can be assured of the protection of the companies and the businesses, given the fact that our country has signed and ratified many international conventions concerning the financial rating. The objective of our country is to achieve BBB investment rating. So the risk is good for foreign investors. Let me say that those who have come to the country by curiosity has settled down forever, for long, by proof of conviction. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this session, it will be about capitalizing the results of exchanges during the B2B sessions and suggest to the government some proposals and solutions for the improvement of the business environment in order to attract a massive flow of foreign direct investment in the context of implementation of African free trade zone. So I encourage you to take ownership of the opportunities and assets that our country presents as a resilient country, and also all the attractive measures that are there to improve the business environment. Moreover, I encourage you to pay a particular attention to the experience of the private investors whose business has seen a real impetus. In closing my intervention, I would like to reiterate the confidence of the head of state, and also I commend this quality of cooperation between Côte d'Ivoire and Cameroon, and also between private partners and the government of my country. Thank you for your kind attention.
I think the Prime Minister showed us a picture of a rigorous country, because he was given 10 minutes and he kept the allotted time. Right, so we are going to follow through and get into the discussions section with our members of government on the stage. We begin by Mr. Alamin Ousmane May, Minister of Economy. can't hear the speaker. Please tell the person we cannot hear him. He has to use the microphone. Mr. Peggy Stratford is a technical advisor to the Minister of Economy. Mrs. Matt Angeline Minja, CEO of API. And finally, Mr. Celestin Tawamba, who's the CEO of the Employers Association of Cameroon. Thanks and welcome to all of you. I think we are going to get started with the intervention by the Minister of Economy to walk us through the investment opportunities in Cameroon. Thanks to start. I would like to thank you for the floor. My intervention will be made very easier because it has been already touched on brilliantly by my head of government, the champion for the presentation of Cameroon. He has pitched it very well. So you would understand that my work will be really easier. It's a walkover. Distinguished Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to fall in line with the Prime Minister to congratulate all of you here for your interest in Cameroon, where you are already present and conducting activities, and also for those who are vying for developing their activities in the country to enjoy the existing opportunities. I will focus on a presentation that was prepared for this meeting. I will expand also on some specific aspects because the motion picture has given us an overlay of the opportunities in Cameroon, just as the intervention by the Prime Minister. Cameroon, in a word, as you have all heard it, you should understand that this is a country that has about over 27 million people. This is not the most important aspect, but I will be delving into it shortly. We have two official languages, including French and English, and the currency, it's also a pillar for stability in the light of the fact that we belong to the CMAC. Now, you can see the strategic position of Cameroon was covered, but the most important one is that it has about 330 million consumers. Why am I saying that this is important? This is because, you know, investors are here, and you can agree with me that the first thing to be considered is the market. Is the market size conducive to my establishment? Because should this be small and narrow, then it won't be easier for me to become active in the country and make a return on investments. Don't forget, the objective of this meeting is to shift from 300 to 3,000 businesses with turnover exceeding $1 billion. So if we have to do that, then there should be consumers there, and this is a big asset in Cameroon because we have what it takes in the light of its strategic position and access to the sea, and which facilitate the connection with other countries that are landlocked. And I also want to avert your attention to this slide, which has to do with the recent development in the economy. We shifted to 0.23%. It may be viewed as a major performance, but what we did was just a resilience to a major external shock arising from COVID-19. The whole world was hit hard, but thanks to the diversity of our economy and the actors who are covering all the segments of the market, we've been able to withstand the crisis. And this shows that the country has what it takes for you to make headway in terms of wealth creation. Similarly, just like even though last year inflation moved to 3%, but try to compare it to what is happening on the continent, and you get an insight into the fact that we have been resilient. And I'm not saying that this is the result we are expecting, but it shows the bargaining power of the populations. In this regard, the government has to introduce actions to support it and also to help the interventions by economic operators and the benefits of the population. In terms of external trade, we would like to mention that this figure makes for us to see that the shocks related to the raw materials stand as indicators which call for a paradigm change in our economies. And they have alluded to economic sovereignty and the lowering of dependence. And if this should this be possible, we have to control the commodities. Also, other external factors that are likely to break the gap if there's any change that happen in this area. And we are doing this with the public resources, but we are aware of the need to manage the official debt, which today sits at 45.5%, accounting for 45% of the GDP and under 70% of the community threshold. And we want to lower this further towards sectors that are likely to create a more favorable environment for investments and giving larger room to the private sector to create wealth and jobs. And we are planning to do this based on 4 pillars which stand as the key to public finance. We want to reach a growth rate of 5% for this year, and believe this, our strategy is targeting 8% on the average, and we are gradually both homegrown and sold within and outside the country. And to this end, there's a need to set up a competitive framework, beginning with energy and other sectors that I will be discussing later. In terms of agribusiness, I'm very happy to see the champions who are already active in the feed, and we believe other growth sectors such as textile, cotton, rice, maize, all of these sectors stand as a tremendous potential for Cameroon and call for some adjustments to the framework to attract more investment and also to add value in terms of job creation. And also have other indicators that show that the deficit is still important, because we are still importing fish, milk, and palm oil, which can be homegrown. And I'll also touch on other production factors. Energy, Cameroon is targeting 5,000 megawatt by 2030 to allow for the industry to avail it. And we think that the new framework being set up will be positive for all our partners. And we believe by the end of this year, Match Tegal, which is a project that has enjoyed have been recognized by many entities at the international level, will come with 400,000 megawatts. And in terms of the wood and forestry sector, we believe this can help us to ensure the retention of the added value at local level and also create job and wealth redistribution, which is now becoming a reality. So these are the opportunities in terms of roads and railway. Efforts have been made to further improve on the competitiveness framework. It was also mentioned that the market, it's very enormous and extensive. There's a need for investments, need for champions and promoter developers. And any business would want to enjoy some facilities and provisions without making it the pillar of its competitiveness. This will be an opportunity for it to make headway and also attract further investors in the country. And shortly we'll be discussing the available facilities, beginning with the 2013 Act, which facilitates private investments, and also the Act on Economic and Social Activities, and also the law called PPP, meant to support the investors. Public-private partnerships, as mentioned by the Prime Minister, we are creating a portfolio of 89 million CFA over a period of 5 years. We believe it's a daunting task, but it can be achieved with the with collaboration with the private sector, where the private sector will be creating all the conditions needed to attract further investors. And under this, the second point I would like to mention is that investors need for public and private frameworks, and this is available in our country. For those who are interested in this, we want to raise $5 billion. And in terms of corporate and public finance, all of this put together, we believe is enough for us to achieve some infrastructures that will be discussed shortly, where we have identified some projects and indicated some need for investments. These are the priority areas because they deal with infrastructures, and those in charge of port infrastructures, rail infrastructures, and road infrastructures are all in this room, and these are the gateway to promote private investments, and we would like to promote that as well. Why should we invest in Cameroon? This will be another question that has already been addressed, but I just want to expand on some specific aspects. In terms of the strategic position and natural resources, it was covered. We are teaming with great natural resources, and there's lots of opportunities to be deepened, and mining opportunities are also tremendous. This will help the national champions to stand to avail it. And Cameroon, under the leadership of the President of the Republic, is still building its macroeconomic and social policy. And this is the guarantee for any investment. We need to ensure stability in the country. And we believe the will of our President, Paul Biya, is to further strengthen and consolidate the macroeconomic and social policy and support it through strategic actions to make for the framework to be more appropriate and conducive for the investors and turn them into African champions as part of the objective to shift from 300 to 3,000 champions. The last point, which is not the least, is the human resources. And as I can say, it's a key wealth because it's shown through the professional skills and also assets such as the bilingual capacity available in the country. And this adds on to the capacity of the diaspora to take part in this construction dynamism, which is to ensure emergence by 2035 with an approach that will be centered on democracy and diversity and unity for the well-being of the populations of Cameroon. And I have advised for my technical advisor to list out the names of all the businesses which are in attendance, because through you, we'll be able to shift from 300 to 3,000. Thanks a lot for your kind attention. Big thanks. As an add to this presentation, we are going to turn the floor back to Mr. Peji, who is the technical advisor to the Minister of Economy, to give a deep dive into some aspects that came out of the intervention by the Minister. Excellency, distinguished Prime Minister, and all the dear participants, thank you for the opportunity given to me to give you a detailed record of what came out of the intervention by the Prime Minister. The government projects falling under the National Development Strategy for 2020-2030, are being implemented based on a PPP approach, as was elaborated on by the minister. The project is organized around 3 sectors, and these will be discussed during this meeting. And the sectors shortlisted for this include the infrastructure sector, the transport sector, and the agribusiness sector. And for the infrastructure sector, the first project is the Idia-Tibi Highway project. It's to facilitate the access to the port of Kribi and also the economic development zone, which is under construction. The project is to create a highway with 4 lanes to the tune of 711 billion, which is 4 billion euros. And there's another project to develop the industrial zone of the port of Kribi, as you can see on the picture. This is underway, and we want to increase the attractiveness of the port by creating an industrial area which will be open to the transformation industries. The project also plans to create a space of 1,500 hectares to the tune of $900 million. The other project is the way that helps you to circumvent the city of Yaoundé. Is a project that is ready to go, and we had engaged with a number of partners of recent in Cameroon, and the project includes 18 bridges, 17 cross bridges, and also it's in the tune of 714 billion CFA. And the next one is the railway project, which is connecting Yaoundé to N'Djamena, and it will facilitate the access of the northern part of the country, and it also intends to broaden the railway network. So Yaoundé N'Djamena will help to unlock that region of the country, I mean the upstate, and this is 684 kilometers long, and it will cross through Adamawa down to the far north of the country to the tune of 6.93 billion euro, which is 4,045 billion euro CFA. And the energy sector project is the hydro plant of Jole. It's a project implemented at the border of Chad, and it wants to increase the power capacity of the country. It's underway, and we have released an international tender to hire a consultancy firm for the conduct of a comprehensive study. So all of the businesses in this room can still apply, because the cutoff time is set at June 16th, and the purpose is to increase the energy capacity by 600 megawatts. And we also have 2 projects in the agribusiness sector. The first one is the agro-industrial technopole, and as you can see, it's multi-sectorial, and this will allow for the commodity processing units to operate there, as well as research units and production units, which will help improve on the processing leg of this national development strategy. The next one is a project that is led by a private company, and it's an integrated agro-industrial park in the western part of the country. It's a project that is already matured. It's vying for establishing an agro-industrial park over a total area of 113 hectares to the tune of 52 billion CFA. The funding gap, as displayed by the developer, stands at 113 billion over a period of 5 years. So, dear Prime Minister and dear investors, here is the content of the project that was prepared for presentation at this meeting.
Thank you so much. For this project to be viable, we need a framework. So I will give the floor to a woman that investors know all because of a role that she put in place and also conducive measures for the private sector, the Director General of API. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for the opportunity that you gave me to discuss the institutional and regulatory framework that will enable the development of business in Cameroon. When you are the last speaker in this kind of circumstances, you almost have nothing more to add. I will rather discuss the measures that are taken and also the role of our entity, API, to make our environment be conducive to business. The government has developed the Agency for the Promotion of Investments, which translates the will of the highest authority of the state, His Excellency, Mr. Paul Biya, the head of state, President of the Republic, to make the system, the steering system, become a perfect one. In that vein, API offers some quality services as part of all the different steps of investments as a backup, and this is involved for welcoming, orientation, assistance, and counseling. Now, for the regulatory parts, a framework has been developed following the law of 2013, which guides all the different incentives for investment in the private investment in the Republic of Cameroon. There is no discrimination between national investors and foreign ones in matter of incentives, provision, and also some key sector of our country are considered around 10. So investors will benefit 4 types of investments. They may be related to the taxing system, custom, administrative, and financial. Concerning the tax measures, investors benefit some reduction ranging from 25 to 75% according to the type of business. We also have tax exoneration, tax exemption related to land transaction, and also VAT exemption on banking credit. Concerning custom exemptions, we have the one concerning import for VAT and custom duties. For the administrative measures, allow me to mention that there is a system aiming at simplifying all the different measures. It was set up in order to allow investors to have all the necessary authorization for the implementation of the projects. For example, without naming all of them, the issuance of visa, for instance, some land document, working permits, and so on. Concerning financial incentives, a financial regulation has been put in place. This concerns the private sector. the aim is to facilitate transaction for investors. All these measures allow investors to achieve some benefits in terms of taxes, ranging from 25% to 75%. As the Prime Minister, head of government, said, we signed different treaties and conventions in order to protect investments in our country. With all these measures, we support the Agency for the Promotion of Investments display the following outcomes over the period 2014-2022. To date, we have already signed 308 conventions signed with private sector enterprises. The global volume of investments in terms of expectation is 5,100 billion CFA francs and 110,000 expected jobs. A midterm evaluation of 120 companies, midterm evaluation of the conventions, because in fact we signed some conventions and they should be for 15 years as part of the different results. Over 125 companies, we have more than 1,700 billion CFA francs were invested, 14,000 jobs were created. All these different measures aimed at allowing the potential to emerge. And this shows that Cameroon is a good risk for investments and a good destination in Africa. I would like to comment this event and also mention the availability of our agency in supporting for the implementation of your projects in Cameroon. I invite you to seize these ideal opportunities in order to start your activities. The beginning of this partnership, a win-win one, that is offered by our country, Cameroon, all Africa within one country, long life PPP, long life Cameroon. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Madam. Now, we will question the business environment in Cameroon. Now, Mr. Celestine Tawemba, the advantage with having him with us is that we can share an institutional perspective as the chairperson of Employers Association, but also the prospect of an investor, because he is at the head of a large group in Cameroon. Sir, in a context in which Cameroon is challenged concerning the business environment, what are the institutional means available to support investors, and which role the private sector through the Employers Association can play for the improvement of the business environment? Well, after listening to the excellent presentation by His Excellency, the Prime Minister, I think that everything is clear. No more to add here. And I commend this exceptional presentation that was made, and I'm very happy to see the support of the Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for this wonderful presentation. And I do think that you saw the Prime Minister who is bilingual speaking French and English. This is business as usual in Cameroon. You can write either in French or in English. No one will ask you why. This is what we call this exception in Cameroon. And the institutional framework has already been presented. It will be very difficult to come back to it. But I think that for over 10 years, the government and the private sectors have decided to do business as unusual, doing things differently, not respecting these indicators that were not fair. And I know what I'm talking about because these indicators for which each and everyone has have a look on concerning the due business, all these were cancelled because they were not reflecting the reality, because Cameroon is a place to be. Truly speaking, I'm not saying it because I'm from Cameroon, but just because I'm a businessman. Mrs. Minja made a presentation. We have investments code, which is the most attractive in Africa. I'm telling you, I don't want to betray some secret, but we are planning to reform it, but not because we want it to be less attractive, but in fact, it is a gift made to investors. It is the right moment. People say that Cameroon is very difficult, but in fact, it is possible to succeed in hard times rather than in good times. In 2020, when we started, and there are people who can witness what I'm saying. I think that when we started, in comparison with people who were starting the country, I think that I'm far ahead. Cameroon is the place to be. It is a natural abnormality, as it was stated, and the Employers Association, in its role of supporting all the different entities, we are an arbitration center in our support in order to give voice to complaints when there is a case. And we support, there is a hotline which is available to support businesses. Sometimes people say that they don't know where to go, but in fact, for any investors ready to come, you will find some answers to your request. Another point to develop your business is, in fact, it is the quality of a manpower and a peaceful political climate environment. As the minister said, it is one of the assets. In fact, human resources, as we can see, not to mention the case of Côte d'Ivoire. In fact, they rather recruit some Cameroonians. They are present here as employees. I'm not just criticizing Côte d'Ivoire, but in terms of human resources, we provide the productive sector more than 100,000 engineers, technicians, professionals per annum. 15,000 in the economic management, so 5,000 for the first one. So it is the place where you can find all the human resources, and less of them are involved in some unions. We have improved the minimum salary that was made recently in response to inflation. There is no trouble, no social troubles in Cameroon. I have been operating there for 22 years, not 2, but 22. and where there is no crisis. So it is a place to be. Don't fear. Thank you for this vibrant testimony. I think that with your presentation, let us put an end to the institutional part, given the fact that we need more room. We will now call on the high table some private companies that will come and share the experience with the success story with Cameroon. Thank you so much.
Alors, nous allons inviter maintenant sur le podium Monsieur.
Well, Mr. Karaki, please join us. Deputy CEO of Prometal.
Nous allons aussi inviter Monsieur Béziou.
Next, Mr. Béziou from Atijari Wafa.
Monsieur Mbouk.
Mr. Bertrand Bouk from Dangote Cement.
Madame Tani Zoukam.
Mrs. Tanye Zukam, Glem Solution. And Mr. Mutunga from Safe Trades Company.
Donc,
On est toujours au même endroit.
Karaki, du groupe Prometal.
Right, so we'll begin this session with Mr. Karaki from the group Metal. Mr. Karaki, you have engaged over 200 million in Cameroon over the last years. Can you tell us why you chose Cameroon? Good day to all of you. You know, it doesn't come easy for me to add to what we have already heard. And I deem it's really enough to attract all of you to Cameroon. And we stand here to witness to that based on our experience. We see ourselves as children of this country. We've been there since 1978. And cultural diversity in the country makes integration easier. The economic environment, along with all the efforts deployed by the country, is enough for us to easily achieve our goals, because our group has been developing the metallurgic industry for over 12 years now. And if you would allow me to be very subjective, we are here talking about the most diversified and cutting-edge industry. This was made possible thanks to such incentive arrangements, which really give confidence to the investors to go as far as possible in their plans. Over all of these years in Cameroon, could you please tell us how the economic environment and your relations with the government made it easier for your activities? You know, what makes Cameroon unique from my humble perspective is that the government is very flexible and supports the investors. And the simple fact of being able to engage with the administration to raise issues and come up with solutions is added value to be very mindful of. And I also want to maybe repeat what was said. The 2013 Act to support what was mentioned by Mr. Tom is really special, and we don't think there's, to our knowledge, a law out there that provides so much opportunity and for investors. And as a matter of fact, in the light of all that was heard and anything touching on the economic realities are just meant to boost us to reach further in our future investment plans. And these are enough details to say that industrialization and made in Cameroon promotion is a reality. We are really proud of representing Cameroon as well as the businesses in Cameroon. Thank you, Mr. Biziou. You also have behind you a great deal of experience of the Cameroon business environment. Could you share a few with us in terms of your achievements over the last 10 years? Thanks for the opportunity for me to join this stage to discuss Cameroon and the Ati Jariwafa Bank. We are convinced, since we're convinced of the very impactful potential of Cameroon, we chose to place our bank in there, and we partnered with a bank called SAB Cameroon. And I can tell you that after 10 years of experience in the country stands as a very attractive one because the balance sheet of the bank has been double, the number of outlets have been multiplied by 3, and the number of workforce has been increased by 250 people. And today we are here with a bank which stands as a very good stool. It's ranked 3rd in the country. It's prosperous and meets all the needs of its shareholders. We are pretty much active on the side of the individuals and the corporates, and we have been developing a project for the SMEs and SMIs. We make what it takes to provide the best funding available to them so that anyone coming in can receive funding and easily achieve its activities. We are really happy for SAB Cameroon, which has a training center. It's called Academia, and we use it for our recruitment operations, and we also train those who are freshly out of school to become bankers. And last year, about 60 people have been trained by that center. This is one. We have developed the bank, but we did not stop there. We have also created additional companies to provide all the comprehensive financial services that are needed. And today it stands as the leading asset management institution. We have also created a life insurance product. We also purchased the existing ones, and we have offered a money transfer system called Wafa Cash, and it's serving the needs of all the businesses in the country to date. Mr. Sir, can you tell us how you think you can stand to gain from the reforms underway in Cameroon? First of all, we have already enjoyed all that was showcased here earlier on, and when we are in the service sector, and I can tell you about the quality of what is offered in Cameroon, and this is something that, as a banker, we are big on. In Cameroon, we have 4 expatriates for 600 people. This shows you the impact of the Cameroonian collaborators, which is very positive. And we also have new logistical infrastructures in the port of Kribi, and we also have some energy infrastructures which will surely bring growth to the future of Cameroon. And we are there to support growth. It's not created by ourselves. And we'd like also to mention that our development is made easier by our funding. We participate in the funding of the port operations, and we stand at the major investment provider of the port, which is currently under development. And we will also provide all of these inputs to the strategic development plan of the country. Dangote is also active in a very strategic sector for the country. How do you think this brings some positive or some gains to your company?
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about our group and our country.
It's actually a good question because, as you know, for a company like us to be profitable, we need a compelling environment. We need a favorable country, a favorable economical environment, and actually, particularly a sector like the cement industry, we are a pretty good marker of the health of the country. And what I have observed and what we have observed as a business is that over the past years, year on year, the volume of the cement has increasing. And that shows, that's a good testimony about the trends of the GDP that was explained by the Minister of Economy. So the market is growing. And when the market is growing, for a company like us, it's imposed a certain level of, how can I say it, efficiency. So we have to be efficient because actually our factory is saturated. We are selling everything that we are producing, so we have to optimize to make sure that we keep the profitability high. So that's not possible if you don't have a country where you can improve in logistics, you can improve in regulations. So, and for instance, we've been able to, still in the perspective of optimizing, implementing as a pioneer, artificial intelligences, which is run by Cameroonians. We talk about the experience and the high expertise of Cameroonians. So I think we are the only factory today which uses the artificial intelligence in running our factory and our plants. So the market is very demanding. We are furnishing to Central African Republic. We are supplying to Chad, as the Minister of Economy and the Prime Minister rightly said. We have a very big market. So it's not only the domestic. So we are covering a wide range of the population. So we are very happy on this market, and we don't feel that is only for the past, because we thought that demand was maybe driven by the African Cup of Nations, but actually after the African Cup of Nations, we saw that the trend was still continuing to grow. So it means the country is building infrastructures, the country is socially healthy, because if people are building houses, it means they're building their lives, so there's a social improvement in social healthy. Infrastructure are being built. So we are very happy on this market, and we are predicting that these trends will continue for some years again. So that's one of the reasons why, as it has been confirmed by the President Alhaji Aliko Dangote, we are, I think it's not a new announcement, but we are doing a second factory to expand our production capacity.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And of course, it's a good indicator of the trust that we have in the country and its institution and the code of investment that was rightly presented.
Okay. Mr. Mbuk, Dangote has already invested more than $100 million in the equipment in Cameroon. We are planning to extend all these investments. Can you talk to us and explain which kind of relation you are handling with the state and the government?
Je vais commencer par la fin.
I will begin with the last part. Our relationship with the government stands in a good mood. Even a couple of months ago, the President have received our President Aliko Dangote. To him, he has given the highest reward in the country, and this shows and illustrates of the good relationship between our group and the government. It doesn't show that everything is rosy and that we do not have hot talks with the governments. This is a reality, and it should always form part of partnership, because we have demands from governments and also those that are introduced by us. But what makes the government in Cameroon unique is the availability of a number of platforms for discussions, and it's something that has really astonished me. I stand stunned by that, because I don't only speak on behalf of the President Dangote, but I speak as the chairman of the Association of Cement Producers in Cameroon. When the COVID-19 and geopolitical crisis hit, just as it was covered by the Prime Minister and the Minister. We have recorded lots of requests and lots of debates on the need to increase our production inputs. So we needed for discussion platforms to avoid repetitions of such inflation-prone efforts, because our ambition is to offer the cement at the most accessible or affordable cost. And we were happy to enjoy the support by the government by making available all of such platforms for discussion. So our relationship stands at a very positive level. And in the past, we had some difficulties in the acquisition of our site, but thereafter that, we have received the support of the government to get in possession of all that it takes to easily run our activities. Mrs. Etan, you fully agree that the government cannot be everywhere at the same time, and that private investment can be a very positive alternative. Could you tell us how GLEM Solution came to birth and have been able to adapt its business model to address the needs in Cameroon? Firstly, I would like to extend my special acknowledgements to the Prime Minister and the CEO of API for the trust in a younger group. This is symbolic of the desire of the government to support anyone that comes in with the skills that it takes. And this is to mention that health, it's very important, because I operate as a health product distributor. If health is not there, all that we are talking about today won't be possible. We have talked about the need to bring in businesses, developing pharmaceutical infrastructures and facilities, but this is not made possible if people do not enjoy a good health care. I'm from a family of physicians, so I went ahead and proposed an offer, a supply that was different from what they have seen so far. It's something that comes with lots of top-level brands and partnerships with structures that were up to what it takes to design, to meet the needs in terms of design and architecture. And this addresses health, training, maintenance, and digitalization of the health facilities, because this is core to our discussions. You are all aware that digitalization is something very important we can do without. So today I'm representing top-level brands to achieve our goals in Cameroon, and I'm sure that very soon I will scale up to their level. Right, investments. This brings us to talk about investments in the health sector, and these are usually very heavy and give rise to funding concerns. Can you tell us more about that in Cameroon, your personal experience? Indeed, investments in the health sector are tremendous, and it doesn't come easy to make it a reality in Cameroon. But I must confess that there have been a lot of change in the picture. I had to work with the Ati Jariwafa Bank, and I have also were encouraged by my clients to receive support from API, and the clients have also suggested to go for some license to facilitate our activities in the health sector. Today, we are currently exempted of custom duties, and the demand is still high. So the idea today is for the Cameroonians to gain easy access to health care, not only everywhere in Cameroon, but also in any health facility, regardless of the size. And we want now to make room for the people, the Cameroonian that have the skills and that are outside, to come back home and do what it takes. And I'm sure when they are back, we will do very great things together. Mr. Mutunga, I believe the heart of any investment is the funding. So what is the complementary solution that Safe Trade can bring to the SMEs. First, I would like to mention that Safe Trade is a French startup, and the headquarters is based in Cameroon. And what we bring in is to facilitate access to funding for SMEs, and we want to meet the needs in this area. How do we make that happen? What is it that we're providing as an added value? We firstly have facilitated the loan application process. It made the whole procedure easier and faster, and it has also improved it in terms of transparency as needed by the ecosystem. It's a platform that interconnects buyers and banks and some donors that are at issue today. The purpose is to make trade more fruitful and help African SMEs from Cameroon and elsewhere to easily sell their products seamlessly. It was very ambitious for you to set up a fund to facilitate the fluidity of transactions and also to facilitate transactions on the continent. What are the companies or businesses that are eligible for such fund? And under which condition the fund is made available? First of all, I just want to mention that our strategy today facilitates the provision of funds for trade, and when a request, by the third quarter of 2023, we want to be able to directly fund SMEs, and we believe this will improve on financial inclusion. The idea behind this is for us to come up with a funding strategy which we have mentioned the substitution ports, so that the SME can easily import products and export as well beyond the borders. So the eligible SMEs first have to have 2 years experience, and secondly, they should have a positive background. They should provide all the transparency guarantees that are needed by us. And Safe Trade, our funding does not require the guarantees, just as the banks do. But we want to be able to fund them without any guarantee, except transparency requirements are to be made. And I thank all of you for this expose, which was quite a clear-cut, and that is symbolic of the life of investors in Cameroon, and it's a positive echo for all the investors that are vying for operations in Cameroon. Thanks to all of you, and good development in Cameroon.
Au terme donc de cette session Invest au Cameroun,
at the end of this session Invest in Cameroon, during which we heard the voice of the Prime Minister and all the different panelists who show the opportunities in terms of investment, also the different reforms that are going on in order to transform the economy in Cameroon. It is a right moment to invest in Cameroon, as the Director General of API presented all the incentives that are being implemented in order to support investors. We hope that private sector stakeholders that we listen to will continue to make a success in Cameroon. Thank you all, and safe trip back home.